Hello everyone, this is Alex, Ukrainian civilian, and I'm back. What happened to me personally, I decided to stop recording videos because I couldn't provide you with a lot of, unique content. Right now I continue to live in my city, everything is safe, and I focused on finding a job. I found a job, I lost this job. I continue to volunteer in much smaller amounts because there are no soldiers here right now, and that's why I help to purchase fuel. Mostly my wife does it. I help with sewing masking nets for our soldiers. I help to sort and send some medication to the Eastern Front line, and that's probably all. What happens right now here in Ukraine that is liberated from Russians? As far as you remember, Russians at the beginning of April left Kiev, Chernihiv and Sumy regions in order to focus their troops, their activity on the eastern borders of Ukraine. We try to live. We do not forget about war, we cannot forget about war. However, we try to stabilize our activities, we try to work, we try to, to fuel our economy, which is heavily damaged by the Russian invasion. We don't have so many resources or so many natural resources in order to fuel our economy. That's why, of course, it leads to a lot of problems. The unemployment rate, the lack of humanitarian aid, the lack of financial reserves in order to supply your classic life. Of course, everything affects us. My personal, of course, life is not so affected because I have savings, unlike most of Ukrainians. And of course, even if we don't see Russian soldiers, we are morally exhausted. We have much more empathy than Russians. And of course, every single loss makes us, tired. It fills us with anger, sorrow, and our life isn't similar to what it was before February 24th. That's why we try to mock our normal life. However, most of people try to donate, to participate somehow in the support of our army, our soldiers. We donate to Serhiy Pritula, who has collected money for 4 Bayraktar sets recently, and it's a huge achievement for the Ukrainian society, for the Ukrainians. And of course, we try to do anything we can, because most of us don't fight. I personally don't think I'm enough strong to do this, and that's why life goes on, highly affected by the war. Especially I'd like, of course, emphasize on the recent events. Yesterday, Russia made multiple rocket launches to attack military objects. I live quite closely to one of it, Desnan village. Unfortunately, I personally saw columns of medical transports, some bodies, and of course it makes me sad, and I cannot just process it easily. This morning, Russia attacked cities, especially Kiev, which is quite close to me, about 10 kilometers, and one of rockets hit a regular residential building. You can see it right now. This is horrible, and again proves that Russia has no limits, and Russians will call it life shield, while we understand that Russian weapons are not accurate, and it leads to massive losses among civilians. So I'd like to move on and discuss the eastern front line, especially Donbas, what happened recently, how it will affect the future resistance of Ukrainian army. And let's start from Severodonetsk. You probably thought that this city was left by Ukrainians because there is nothing left to defend. The dramatic advantage of Russia in artillery doesn't give us an opportunity to fight with them in open land, in forests, in plains. We have to fight in cities in order to inflict heavy losses to Russians. That's why, of course, it also leads to significant losses among Ukrainians because shelling doesn't stop. I watched a couple of videos from Ukrainian soldiers and it's awful. Artillery shelling and air attacks don't stop. It's very stressful, and I'm not sure I could survive through this, at least mentally. And when nothing left to defend, our Ukrainian troops retreated to Lysychansk. It is much more fortified. It is located on the hill, and I hope it would help to defend it for more time, because any day leads to losses not only among Ukrainians but among Russians as well, especially after we started to receive more accurate artillery from Western countries. Some people may not focus on Ukrainian events so hardly as we do. It's logical, it's not your war. However, I'd like again to emphasize that the number of stuff we received is not sufficient. We still launch one shot. We still are doing one shot in the comparison with 50 shots that Russians do. Our shots are more accurate, but we need more weapons. Probably heard a lot of this chants during last time. So what's going on next, in my opinion? I'd like again to emphasize that the main defense line of the Ukrainian army in the east is still behind the current front line. Basically, those cities like Slavyansk, Bakhmut or Siversky is the last defense line. So we still have capacity to inflict casualties to Russians and have enough fortified positions. Another topic about Donbas is Zolote and Gorsk. Basically, those small cities were almost encircled by Russians, and Russians claimed that they encircled thousands of soldiers and captured them. But if you see the Russian talks, it would be a lie. Of course, there are losses, heavy losses. The retreat is never an easy thing to be done, but there are no thousands of captured soldiers. I counted maybe up to 100 soldiers, and I'm not sure, was it a political decision, was it a military decision to stay there for so long? I'm not sure. I also limited by the fog of war. I also receive information from open sources. That's why I just can tell that I'm proud of our soldiers. I'm proud of their martyrdom, and I hope that everything will be fine. So the future is quite clear to me. We continue to defend Lysychansk, we continue to defend Slavyansk, we continue to defend southern part of this front line that was suppressed by Russians in Popasna. And I think it will take a couple of more months before Russians are exhausted enough to stop their, let's say, attacking operation in Donbas. Let's now talk about Ukrainian counteroffensive in south. That's not something fast. It's similar to what Russians do right now in Donbas. Their troops are relatively weak there, and despite the lack of ammunition or weaponry, Ukrainians slowly press Russians to Kherson and Melitopol. What's going on? It's not a classic rush like you saw initially in February or March when Russians sent huge columns, they were attacked by our artillery, etc. No, it's more similar to the corrosion. Our intelligence finds the most, the weakest parts in Russian defense lines, and then our troops attack it. Basically, it leads to slow movement, so there are no big victories we can brag about. However, I think that by the end of summer, Kherson might be liberated by Ukrainians. So their attempts to ban Ukrainian legislation and everything else are too quick, in my opinion, of course. So, can we see a lot of pride events in the upcoming future? Probably no. This is the hardest part of this war, when both parties have presumably the same forces, and everything depends on small but tough fights in the front line. At the same time, I'm optimistic. Despite all losses of the Ukrainian nation, we are united. We are united, and the West helps us. Because we understand from the Russian behavior, we understand there would be no complete end of this war until Russia is exhausted enough to stop aggressive attempts to conquer Ukraine. They still want to conquer Kyiv, Dnipro, Kharkiv, and other big cities in Ukraine, and they still want to set a puppet government because they want our resources. They want our people, they want our minerals, natural resources to continue their aggressive expansion. Putin puts everything on the table in order to conquer Ukraine. And Ukrainians are sure there would be no independent state in Ukraine if Russia wins. That's why we encourage everybody to help us. That's what I do in my every video. I ask you to support Ukraine by donating to verified volunteering groups. I don't collect money personally, never. I will put something under this video. You would be able to do this if you don't do right now this. If you already donate or help Ukrainian refugees or do whatever you want, I'm grateful. Thank you so much for doing this, because Ukraine needs your help. And we are standing as the last stronghold before Putin reaches European Union. That's probably all for today. I hope this new format was useful, was enough attractive. It helped you to get some new information about Ukraine, our people, what we do right now. I'm very grateful to everyone that supports Ukraine, really. And it's important to tell that Ukraine never forgets its friends and its enemies, of course. So that's why we will do everything to win over Russia, to end this senseless war that are fueled by Putin's imperialistic ambitions. And I'd like to thank you for watching this video. It's very important for me because this is the point where I can talk about my opinion, my let's say about my state, what I feel and what I think about Ukraine. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like it, and see you in my next videos. Have a nice day. Bye.